Welcome to SWITCHTRACK, a summer mini-series brought to you by the Mischief Movement podcast. These are the real-life stories of rebels who changed direction by choice or by force and found freedom on the other side. Because sometimes life plays a tune that doesn't quite fit, and the most powerful thing you can do is flip the track entirely. I'm your host, Zoe Greenhalf, disruptive coach, mindset mentor, and mischievous guide for quiet rebels and unconventional humans who are done settling and ready to redesign a life that actually fits. In this series, we're catching up with past guests who've dared to pivot, disrupt, and create something more aligned to who they really are. Short, snappy, and full of insight, each episode is a reminder that you're allowed to change, to evolve, and to burn the old script if it doesn't serve you anymore. So whether you're standing at a crossroads, itching for more, or quietly plotting your next move, this series is for you. Let's jump into today's SWITCHTRACK story. So, back with another episode for this mini-series, the SWITCHTRACK summer series of the podcast, where we're revisiting some of the Mischief Movement podcast's former guests to find out what's been happening since we last spoke. So this time I'm back with Clay Lowe, and we last recorded on episode 21. So if anybody wants to go back and listen to the original episode, I'll put a link in the show notes. But Clay, it's lovely to have you back.
Oh, thanks for having me back.
You well?
Yeah. Oh, it's good to be back again.
Cool. So a bit of time has passed since we last recorded. Could you just remind us, where were you in life the last time that we spoke?
I think you found me in a space of we're talking about sort of the personal growth and the whole sort of spiritual side of personal growth and the like. So you likely have found me in that kind of space, I suspect. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the ways I described you on the introduction was a trainer in terms of like the learning and development space as well. I remember talking about that. So what's actually changed since we last caught up?
Yeah, so I think if looking at that side of things, my life for the past 30 years has been as a learning and development consultant, guru, that trainer, facilitator. So I've been in the learning and development space for 30 years now, probably something along those lines. And as I was thinking about this podcast, I was thinking it's actually, we talk about everything being cycles. So I've kind of cycled through almost back to, and I'll say start, but not start as in I'm at the brand new beginning. But so when I started on my own, when I left corporate life for good, 20 some odd years ago, the company that I started was called Personal Growth Adventures. And it focused on having these outdoor experiences. It was a venture coaching, essentially. It was like people who want to make the shift from corporate life, kind of break out of that space, wanting to do something real with their life. And it was combining coaching and the outdoors as a means of transformation. And the genesis behind it is I did an adventure race, and we did this race. It was like 10 days long. All the teams were corporate teams, but I watched all these transformations happen. And I was just at the beginning of my coaching journey. And I was like, well, there was no coaching intervention, yet massive transformation happened. Lots of people that I kept in touch with realized that there was more to life than just doing the 9-to-5 thing. And a lot of people just quit their jobs. And that was without any coaching intervention. So I had the idea that, how much more powerful would that transformation be if we had the outdoor experience, like climbing a mountain or doing a long hike, and in combination with coaching, where you're having a deliberate conversation and internal journey aspect. So it was internal journey, external journey. So that was that. And then, because I was, very much at the start of things, I think I did a team building thing for a company. But then, because of my background in the military, there was this draw to, can you come in and work with our team? Can you work with our leaders? Can you help us with culture change? So
Sure.
I ended up doing a lot of corporate work in that, and in addition to continuing to do the sort of personal side as well. And because I guess the way I look at it is this: is that even in business and corporate, it's people, isn't it? And so everything that I do is people oriented. So it doesn't matter the environment that you're in, because the issues are still the same, because you're a human. You're just having the problems in a different environment, but it's fundamentally the same thing. So where I find myself at now, because I do travel around a lot and do a lot of on-site stuff, and I do stuff nationally, internationally, all that kind of stuff. But I've moved cycles as an individual, moving into grandpahood. So I'm in what I call, if you're thinking of life as a 3-act play, I'm just at the start of Act 3. Mm-hmm. So this is that time you're starting to think about your personal legacy. What am I leaving behind? What are the things that how am I going to show that I didn't just come here and waste oxygen, basically?
Oh my goodness me, as if you have.
It's how do you give back, though? So now I'm at that stage, and so that's what's kind of led me back here in us having this conversation, is starting to put more emphasis on some more of the personal journeys, working with some people that are, I guess, in this turn of the wheel for themselves, where it's like, okay, well, if I was classifying it, intelligent misfits, essentially. But I think there's a couple of paths that we may have taken. One being like me, which kind of left corporate and just kind of did my own thing and kind of, did that route. And others who stayed in, still misfits, but never felt like they quite fit in, and probably do things a little bit different, but they stayed in because of a variety of reasons, whether, the stability, family, any of those things. But now they're at that point where I've given a lot to the sort of the status quo kind of life, the one that we were sold when we were kids. And so they're like, when now can I get my life back? It's time for me to start reconnecting with the path that I may have diverged from, that I was headed to.
Yeah.
Or actually, I bought the societal line of get a good job, get married, have kids, buy the house, buy the 2 cars, have the white picket, that fairy tale life I bought. And then if you just keep your nose clean and do the thing, then life works out good. Yeah. And then you can retire and go off. And
we've all heard that one.
Your twilight years. And then, but so people that I'm finding myself working with now, it's like, well, I swallowed that pill. It didn't turn out quite how I thought it was going to be. And so maybe find themselves in that transition point of, there's definitely got to be more to life than that. And at some point in time, I had the taste for it, lost it for a whole host of reasons. And now I want to get back to that space of life, of purpose and meaning, I think.
Yeah. So it actually sounds like yours is less of a pivot, and in terms of where you began, and as you mentioned to me before we started recording, it's more like returning in a cycle to the kind of way that you wanted to work when you first began on your coaching journey. Would that be fair to say? It's more...
Absolutely. It's the cycle. Okay. It's the turning of the wheel, isn't it? It's
okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think
so. It's not a direct,
it's not 180 degree.
Yeah.
Is it? I'm
not a wild turn.
Learning development and all this sort of stuff. I'm going to go now be a Silicon Valley tycoon. So it's not a complete.
No, but there's something so wonderful about starting a journey in one place, exploring it in another, but then also realizing that you kind of want to go back to where you started from, or at least rediscover that part and turn that into the next chapter.
Yeah, I think
The
it's
change
about
is still there, that,
having collected up some wisdom,
yeah,
walking along that path. Now I'm back at a place, and I guess it just coincides with my life cycle shift as well. So
yeah,
it's almost a natural evolution well, it mimics the rhythm of life, as in we do the same in life, isn't it? You go down a path,
yeah,
learn some things. Now you want to share whatever it is that you've experienced, learn to the sort of next generation. Or it's this, and I think Paulo Coelho talks about this concept of the personal legacy, which is a personal legacy that you want to leave.
So in terms of where you're at now, like, what kind of challenges are you facing as you lean more into this kind of soul aligned path and maybe less into a leadership and development space that you've been so familiar with over the last 20 years?
Yeah, I think the challenge is, and this is what most people will be finding, anybody that's doing any kind of independent work or doing their sort of side hustle, what have you, what you're finding is that there's a great migration of people wanting to come out of the sort of towing the line and doing the standard life. So there's a lot of noise, I guess is a short way to say. There's a lot of noise. Yeah, there's just so many people in the space that it probably could be overwhelming for someone stepping in. So in all the noise, how do you create the right signal so that you can reach the right person through your messages, because it is such a noisy environment? So that's probably the biggest challenge. And it's all about people's learning ability, adaptability, change, and all of those sorts of things. So when I coach someone in corporate, when I coach someone personally, it's the same tool set that I'm using. And I would even argue that not even using them differently at all, because if you're stuck, you're stuck. And no amount of dressing it up with different kind of language or corporate speak, doesn't matter. You're not going to change until you get unstuck. And 9 times out of 10, it's an internal thing that has that person stuck. And then once you undo that, everything else becomes easy. Yeah.
Has anything like surprised you about, I want to say, life on the other side of this change, but you're kind of going through this still, aren't you? Is there anything that's kind of surprising you, or anything that's become obvious since you've made the decision to work with people in this way rather than dedicating yourself solely to a corporate space?
I think maybe, as I was saying to you before we started recording, I'm looking at this third act. And I posted a thing on Instagram that Eddie Murphy was saying, you got 75 birthday, 75. When I look at that number 75, I don't have that many more. So, okay, if there's some things that I wanted to get done, now is the time to definitely get it done. And here's the big thing, and maybe this is what's driving a lot of it, is, your company tells you got to be in this space. You got to go in this workshop. You got to do this team event. You got to do this thing. And mostly once people get there, they're into it. But then they're also distracted by the fact that this day that I'm here doing this thing, while valuable, I know there's 100, 200 emails that's going to be waiting for me when I get back. So everybody's under this time pressure. Would love to have more opportunity to do that. So they probably wouldn't be in the room if they weren't told to be in the room.
Yeah.
And I guess the space that I'm trying to create now is working with someone who's decided to be in the room, not someone who's being told you've got to be in the room. And both sets of people learn something, but I'm after that person who's like, I want to go into the room. Is there something out there that I can engage with in this way versus, hey, you need to be here on this day and do this thing. And companies are just under a lot of pressure. I think there's a lot of managers and leaders out there who recognize, there's a whole realm of stuff of mental health, looking after people's well-being, the whole sort of well-being culture in a lot of companies. So, companies get it. But there's also the big time pressure. So they want to do that thing and provide that kind of space for people to work on not only their professional development, but their personal development too. But the kind of time pressure that they are under is just a disconnect there. So I want to do this. I want to innovate. I want to provide this space for people's personal development. But it's such a heavy demand in the workspace in terms of what I've got to do. How do you create the space to do it when you're right in the middle of trying to produce stuff and deliver things and all of that? And I think people find the same thing in their personal life. I mean, if you're working in your job and you got to do your job, and then if you got a family, then you got to tend to your family, and you start looking at the clock. There's only 24 hours in a day. When I've given up 12 hours of the day has been at work, then I got an hour commute, so there's another hour gone. Then I come home, and then I don't have to. I got to tend to the kids, tend to the partner, and before you know it, it's 9-10 o'clock at night. So I got a half hour to myself. If you're wanting to if you're trying to make a change, if you're trying to do stuff, suddenly you find yourself with very short space and time to do that. Everybody has demands on your time, and the only way that I survived that when I was still in this sort of corporate side, and luckily I'm a morning person, I just started getting up at 4 a.m. And then I had from 4 a.m. to 7 was Clay time, because nobody wants anything from you at 4 a.m. Nobody. So I had all that time to myself. But what it did was, because I had that Clay time, then it didn't matter the rest of the day. Everybody can have their piece of me because I've had my time. So, but I know that doesn't work for everybody. I just happen to be a person that doesn't need a lot of sleep.
It's great if you can factor that in. Absolutely. It doesn't work for new moms with little babies or young kids that don't sleep. Yeah. But if you can,
if you need your 8 hours of sleep, some people need lots. I mean, I only need 4 hours, so it works for me.
But just to kind of bring you back to this sense of, if you've made this decision that rather than concentrate your efforts in a corporate space, you would prefer to be coaching in a way that feels very soul aligned and very sort of wholesome and maybe more sort of spiritual, and reconnecting with where you started from. Since you've made that decision, have you had any kind of have you had any kind of big moments of clarity or surprises, or just, I don't know, happy accidents, or, well, I don't want to say coincidences because maybe they're not coincidences, but do you know what I mean? Have there been any kind of things that have made you go, do you know what? This just shows me that I'm exactly on the right path.
I suppose the big light bulb, and I've already touched on it already, is just the realization that I am in Act 3. I mean, if there's my motivation. It's Act 3 now, dude. So anything you were planning on doing, you need to get it done. And so that's been the biggest piece. Is there's no, I'm not a young 20-something. I'm not in my 30s. I'm not in my 40s. So, the third act is a bitch.
It's what you make of it, though. It's what you make of it. I think for you, it's going to be amazing.
I'm not going to be able to not have the same end as everybody. Everybody's going to die. And so my third act, that's the end. There's no top of the mountain, nothing. There's just, I'm finished in another 20,
thanks for,
maybe
making
30
it really.
years. But this is the thing. Once in a while, that you wanted to know the light bulb moment or the big thing. That's it. Realizing that, your mortality is staring right. It's always been that
I
way.
know.
Mostly because when we're young, you just think you're going to live forever, don't you? So, but now being right there at that space, staring at that place,
Well, that's a kick up the ass, isn't it? Or do
Yeah,
you
well,
even
this,
want?
if I find myself wanting to be lazy or not do something,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, well,
Yeah, one of my other guests, Mickey James, she lives by the motto, life is finite. I think she even had it tattooed on herself, just to
mm,
keep that reminder there constantly. You're playing a game, and at some point the game is going to end. What are you going to do with that time that you've got? Which I just think is,
the time between the dashes is how I always
exactly.
looked at it,
Yeah.
So what's that
Yeah,
going to look like? And nobody knows how long they have anyway.
for
So
sure.
almost you wanted to be living that way your whole life, but you know, you just get sucked up with everybody
Yeah.
else, and you just I got
So on
plenty
that note,
of time.
let me wrap this up and ask you, what would you say to someone now who knows deep down that they need a change, but they just feel stuck or too scared?
The big thing that I would say to folks is that you've got to make a true decision, and you got to, otherwise you'll just stay stuck. You'll have all the logical reasons, everything will be but you've got to make the true decision, and then however scary that is in terms of taking that first step, just take the step. And I think the biggest thing I say to people is everyone makes the thing big. And so because it's big and it becomes overwhelming, and then I don't
Yeah.
make a change, I don't start. It can be the smallest of things. If you want to spend 5 minutes reading, read for 5 minutes, that's enough. And then be done and be happy with the 5 minutes that you spend, because we can put pressure on ourselves and say, oh, I should be doing more. 5 minutes is nothing, but actually 5 minutes is better than no minutes. So do the 5, be happy, celebrate the 5 minutes, and it might take you longer to get where you want to go, but at least you'll get there. But if you don't do anything, then you'll never get there.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. I would say just start where you are. You don't need another course, another nothing. You need nothing. You start with what you have, where you are, and it can be the smallest of things. Don't make it huge, big, giant change that you have to make if you don't have the space to do that. And I suppose that just takes being radically honest with yourself. You don't have the space and time to do it, but don't do nothing. So don't tell yourself the big myth of I don't have time to do it. Actually really have an honest conversation that says, well, actually, you know what? I've got 5 minutes between the walk from here to there. Well, there's your 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Use that 5 minutes. Be happy with that 5 minutes. Celebrate that 5 minutes, and just do that consistently until you get more time and expand from there. So start. Anybody listening to this, start. Start now, right where you are.
Which
Right
is
as soon as you
brilliant.
finish, as soon as you hit stop on this thing, start. That's it.
Good advice.
Done.
Thank you.
Mic drops. Done.
Oh, thanks so much, Clay, for coming back and sharing more of your story and more of your wisdom. Where can people connect with you?
Soulcruiser.com, and that's cruiser as in CRUZER, soulcruiser.com. That's the website. And any social media you go on, if you look up at Soul Cruiser, I have everything. So wherever you hang out, you can find me. I'm there. So
Awesome.
yes.
Oh, thank you so much.
No, thank you. Appreciate it. Go Mischief.
Thank you for listening to this summer mini-series. If you're already feeling that itch to pivot, or even just to pause and rethink, this is your reminder that you don't have to do it alone. Whether you're craving clarity, courage, or just someone to say, you're not crazy for wanting more, I'm here for that. You can book a free call with me using the link in the show notes. No pressure, no expectation, just space to explore what's next for you. So stay rebellious, keep making mischief, and meet me back here next week for another episode of Switch Track. Because changing course might just be the most powerful move you make.